Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Yash, and in this video we are going to talk about combating annoying feature number 2 of the mind, which is that our minds don't think in absolutes. We always think in reference points. So today we're going to discuss how to reset your reference points. So let's go. So, first of all, let's start by asking, what is a reference point? A reference point tends to be a salient but often irrelevant standard that we often compare our experiences with to others, to see if you're doing the right thing, to see if you're going in the right direction, see if we are doing what we believe will net us the best results and positivity in our lives and make us feel like we are moving towards something that is important and valuable and is, making us grow. But the problem with these reference points is the fact that when you set yourself a reference point, our mind does this annoying thing where it does not think in absolutes. The reference point is never relevant to your situation in the way that a computer would look at it. You always reset your expectations based on another reference point. A very good example of this is if you and another person are in the same job with the same salary. If another person, your colleague, gets a higher salary at some point, suddenly you reset your reference point based on your friend's increased salary, and then you look at yourself and say, well, I don't think I'm as successful as my friend because clearly that person has just got a promotion and I have not. So if we look at these reference points and how we set these reference points for ourselves, there's a study done by Morwich et al. In 2010 where they got subjects to come in and eat potato chips that was left on the table, but the control group ate potato chips just for the sake of eating potato chips, but there was no enticement. But the other people, they had something that was much more alluring to eat. Like, for example, instead of potato chips, you would have chocolates, but you can only look at it, you can't touch it. You have to eat the potato chips. And they rated their happiness or their feeling of well-being afterwards. And the other group was given potato chips to eat, but they put something nasty like, asparagus or tuna or something, like sardines. Something that doesn't really appeal to most people. So when they looked at this study, they realized that the people who are eating potato chips when they are presented with something that might be tastier, they did not enjoy their experience with the potato chips as much as the people who were given something that is less enticing than the potato chips. And they seem to enjoy having the potato chips more because of that reference point. They set themselves a reference point and said, wow, the potato chips are pretty good compared to that sardine over there. Or they went, potato chips are nice, but it's not as good as the chocolate on the table. So this is what a reference point is, and this is why, and this phenomenon with reference points and how our minds work with them is why it's such an annoying feature, and we do this all across our lives. How do we combat this? Well, there are 5 main things that we can use, tools, weapons, that we can use to combat against resetting or combat against setting unrealistic reference points. So here they are. Concretely experiencing something. I'll explain all of these in a bit. Concretely observing. Avoiding social comparison. Interrupt your consumption and increase variety. So if we move on to that, let's go to concrete re-experiencing. So what exactly is concretely re-experiencing? It's when you take something that you have, like an experience that you have, you take it and you actively seek out your previous reference point so that you get a better appreciation of where you are right now. So for example, if you have a really good job, you got a really good job and you've been in it in a few months and now you're starting to sort of go, oh, well, it's just another job, blah, blah, blah. What's happening there is that your reference points have been reset. So what do you do about it? You actively seek out your old job, your old reference point. If you did not have a job, you go and sort of try that out for a bit. You try and experience or re-experience concretely how it felt to be in the previous reference point. And by doing that, you reboot your reference system. And when you do that, you gain a better appreciation for what you already have. And this is what we call concrete re-experiencing, right? It makes you sort of actively seek out your old reference point to remind you how much better your current situation really is. So, what is number 2? Concrete observing. Well, you don't observe the concrete. Concretely observing something is kind of like building on top of the last one that I just said. It involves actively seeking out reference points and observing for ourselves if we don't have a prior reference point. So this one actively works, for example, if you've never been married before. You don't have a previous reference point for what a good marriage looks like or what a good relationship in that aspect, good long-term relationship looks like. So in that situation, what you do is because you can't sort of put yourself back into an old situation and go, oh, well, my previous relationship was like that or my previous marriage was like this. Without that kind of experience, how do you sort of reset your reference point? What you do is you actively seek out experiences from other people who have gone through that experience or is going through that experience, and you try and concretely observe what is going on. You obviously can't get into their relationship, but you can sort of stand amidst it all and really try and look at the good and the bad of that relationship. Or if you have friends who are close to you, who are in a relationship, who have that kind of information, go and speak to them and really get them to be honest about what it really means to be in such a relationship. And that gives you a very firm, good reference, a rounded reference point for you to work across. So this applies for things like your very first relationship. This applies for stuff like if you didn't get into the university that you wanted to get into, you didn't get the job that you wanted. Let's say you want a job in Google and you don't get it. How do you sort of reset your reference point going, okay, well, what would have been the bad stuff about having a job at Google? Would I have the same amount of free time that I have? Would I have the same peace of mind? Would I have the same XYZ? And you concretely observe what you would have gotten versus what you would have got as cons as well, because everything in life will come with a pros and cons list. We all know this, right? It's just another way of giving yourself the opportunity to see how the other half lives. The people that you want to become a part of, or the place that you want to become a part of, or whatever it is. You reset your reference point by concretely observing that stuff. Third, this one's a really, really, really important one, and that is avoiding social comparison. We really cannot help ourselves when it comes to comparing ourselves to other people and other reference points. We always look at it social media has been a big influence and a brand new influence to our generation when it comes to stuff like this. So, in this instance, we always tend to compare to other people, even though we very well know that no one is really putting up all of their life on social media. You know that you are seeing a curated view of their life. They only put up their Mercedes, they only put up their newborn baby, they only put up their first class ticket, they only put up their cruise, they only put up their holidays, but none of them will put up their divorces, none of them will put up their sad miscarriages, none of them will put up their car accidents, none of them will. So this is where we sort of actively, whenever we see something about someone else, we actively tell ourselves, hang on, is this the full picture? Probably not. If it's not, what could really be going on? I'm not saying consume yourself with observing other people and trying to figure out what's good and bad in their lives. All I'm saying is do this so that you, yourself, can stop comparing yourself to other people. Your car, it might just be good enough. Your house, it just might be good enough. If your relationship is good enough, it's good enough. Like, stop. It's a way for us to break away from that social comparison. And in the past, social comparison has kept us alive. Very much so in the past and during our evolution, making sure that we know that we are going in the right direction. But unfortunately, these modern days, it almost seems like we're only comparing materialistic things instead of looking at qualitative measures like happiness, well-being, contentment, peace, time to spend for the things that you want to do, and things, sometimes it just might be time to spend doing nothing for yourself. So avoid social comparison, and a really good way to do this is to give up social media. I know it's a tough one, but I would highly recommend doing it. I only post to certain platforms, but I don't check them anymore because I've stopped. I've forced myself to stop comparing myself to other people, and I do that a lot. I used to do that a lot. Now I only pretty much function on Twitter and YouTube, and that's pretty much it. Like, I put stuff out, but I don't check whether there's any comments, whether there's any likes. I don't check my analytics. I've given up on that stuff. Like, it's just, I do this because I love to do this. This is what I want to do on my free time. So, number 3.1, like, how do we sort of avoid social comparison? Step 1, stop technique. This is when we find ourselves thinking about other people and other reference points, and it makes us feel like our lives are not as valuable as they seem. And we know from the videos that we watched in this playlist and all of these videos that I've been putting up that absolutely worsens your emotional well-being. So when we find ourselves doing that, we tell ourselves and we rein in our mind and go, nah, stop, it's enough, that's enough. And we sort of wrap our thoughts in and sort of bring it back into focus and go, no, I have good stuff right here, right now. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about this, right? The next one that we can do to avoid social comparison is gratitude. Gratitude is, we spoke about this in the last video, gratitude, there's studies that prove that if you are actively engaging intently in gratitude, your mind, and this is through fMRI scans while telling people to be grateful and all that stuff. I'm not going to put too much of the studies from here on because it's just more meat and potatoes, like really like examples and explanations rather than just studies, but know that there is data behind this. fMRI studies have shown that when a person is going through a deep sense of gratitude or really focusing on gratitude, it literally kills envy because your brain can't focus on envy while it's being thankful for something. It is just not, it's mutually exclusive. If you're feeling gratitude, envy has no place because your brain's capacity cannot handle that. They're processed in a similar region. It's crazy. So as much as all the stuff I told you about gratitude last video, this is another plus onto why gratitude is super important, because it helps you kill social comparison. And number 3 on how to sort of defeat social comparison is you got to be aware of what you're allowing in as a reference point. You got to curate the reference points that you allow into your life. And when you do that, you have to actively make sure that you are giving yourself all of the information. Use concrete experiencing, concrete observation, To stop social comparison, you make sure that when you take in the important message, like for example, if you see someone else's first class ticket to somewhere, you not only just look at their first class ticket, you also think about what could their lives possibly have been leading up to this point. Maybe they haven't had a holiday for like 2.5 years. Maybe they collected money, so much money, while reducing all of their other spending. They've gone through so much struggle just to make sure that they collected money for this singular experience. And we all know spending on experiences is much better than anything else. Materialistic stuff, correction. You try and get a holistic view of the reference points that you are letting into your life. So whether it be a job, whether it be a relationship, whether it be whatever else, make sure that you get a well-rounded, a holistic view of the reference points that you're letting in and you're comparing yourself with. We can't stop comparing. It's not a thing that you can do, but we can get better at comparing, and we can get better at setting reference points. This is the most obvious one when it comes to stopping social comparison, and that is to get rid of social media. It is one of the easiest ways to improve your emotional well-being. There's hundreds of studies that say that if you uninstall your social media right now, you will have an emotional well-being benefit across the rest of this day. So if you could take away one thing that you could do right now, if I could do something, it would be to turn off this stupid phone. If you could do one thing today that will definitely improve your emotional well-being just over a significant amount of time, and also right this moment across the rest of this evening or rest of this day, it would be to uninstall all of your social media applications. I know that is a crazy thing to ask. It's one of those things. It's intricate for us, especially during these lockdown times. Social media seems like the only thing that connects us right now. And I agree. But what you want to try and do is, if you can't get rid of social media, make sure that you actively seek out information and control yourselves. Point number 3, allowing what reference points that you bring in. You control when you check social media. You control how long you're going to be on there for. But also, you got to actively stop it pushing information on you. Notifications, you know what I'm talking about. I just got one. You got to stop that. So this is what I've done. I've not deleted all of my social media, but what I have done is I've gone and turned off notifications for all of my social media. And what that means is that I can only check most of my social media through my computer, and it does not show me those red blobs that say, oh, you've got things here, you've got things there, you've got notifications here and there, and makes me turn on the app. So I've done that, and I think you can do the same thing. And now modern phones these days will give you things like, what is it called? Well-being features, where it tells you how many apps you're using and how often you're using, screen time and all that stuff. Use it. Use those features. Do not disturb. Use all of that stuff to make sure that you take control of your emotional well-being in your life, instead of letting social media and other things, notifications, sort of control your life. So I've done that, and it's definitely been a massive improvement on how I view my time and how I view my time on social media. So when I do look at social media, I have like 26 notifications that I can go through. Once I do that, I don't scroll, I close, and then I'll go on to my next task. So that makes it a little bit more rewarding to do that, because it's a very healthy reference point. Number 4 in how to reset your reference points is you got to interrupt your consumption. Now this one I can follow up with a few studies, but what this concept is that it's not just about what you are consuming, but how you're consuming it, right? So for example, if you've got your favorite food or your favorite TV show, if you start watching it, as soon as you start watching it, your emotional well-being shoots up. You're happy. You're really happy that you're eating your favorite food right now, or you're watching your favorite show. But if you continue to do that, your emotional well-being keeps taking a hit. Like the amount of happiness that you are granted from your internal systems reduces each time. It becomes less and less effective as you repeat that task. So for example, the first episode will be the best, the second episode will be okay, pretty good, okay, and it sort of flatlines a bit when it becomes a constant. This goes back to sort of getting used to things, hedonic adaptation, right? So this is a good way to sort of reset that and make sure that you are experiencing it to the fullest. What you do is you interrupt your consumption. You have your favorite meal, but then you force yourself to stop early. That's the reason why holidays are so interesting and so enjoyable, because you're forced to go back. You're forced to go back to reality, and that makes it a stopgap. Like it stops that experience, and you can only observe it in your memories. So it's about forcing yourself to pause and come back to it, which allows you to reset your hedonic adaptation curve, right? This applies to me with video games. When I start playing video games, it's so good, it's brilliant, but then if I continue to play it for 8 hours, I'm just like, okay. So if I do that continuously for a few days, I immediately just go straight into depression. I don't know. You think that it makes no sense, but it has happened to me and I've experienced it. So what do I do now? I've allocated a very specific day of the week where I play a lot of video games, and specifically with also my friends. So it not only adds social connection, but it also adds that resetting your reference point component, because I can never get used to it, right? So I only play once a week, but I play a lot. And because I play a lot, that 8 hours is so refreshing. I get to hang out with my friends, I get to play my video games, and that gives a big emotional well-being boost. But then the rest of the days, I'm cooking, cleaning, I'm doing all sorts of stuff, washing my clothes, making videos, editing videos, doing other stuff. I'm mixing it up, right? This is proven with the study Nelson and Mavis 2008 about listening to your favorite song over and over and over again. It sucks, and it just, you keep losing the value for it until you have to take a break and you listen to it and your emotional well-being shoots up. The graph shows it. Here's a funny thing, right? I'm going to talk about this next study, Nelson et al. 2009. I'm going to ask you a question. If I asked you, if you could binge watch your shows without any adverts in the middle, would you believe that would make you happier or less happy? I put up a poll up here, so, put your poll up and then go on to the next bit. Hopefully you're done. Nelson et al. In 2009 did this with a sitcom, and they made the viewers sit down and watch the sitcom flat out without any commercials in between. And they also had another group who got to watch the sitcom but had commercials in between, like in modern television. Turns out it is completely counterintuitive. Like, this is going back to annoying feature number 1, which is that our strongest intuitions are wrong, often wrong. Turns out people enjoyed the sitcom a lot more when there were commercial breaks, because it broke their hedonic adaptation curve. So you watched an episode and there was a break and you got to do other stuff, and then you got to come back to it, and then you enjoyed it a lot more. And this comes back to number 5, which is like an added footnote. Which is why I said there's 4, but a 5th one is there. The simplest way to put it is that variety is the spice of life. So, to wrap everything up, let's go back to the start. We know that we use reference points with our mind to sort of make sure that we are going in the right direction and doing the right thing. But at the same time, our mind has an annoying feature where it does not know how to set good reference points. So 4 ways to actively combat that is by concretely re-experiencing something that you had in the past to what you have right now, so that you can rejig your reference points to what you have and make sure that you are glad to be where you are right now. Second one is to concretely observe. If you don't have a prior reference point, actively go out there and see how the other half lives. See how these people that you are looking at as a target demographic that you want to get to, or target whatever to get to, how do they live? What are their real problems? What are their good? What are their bad? Right? Really experience all of that. Third thing, avoid social comparison. And this is a big problem with all of us. We always check whether the other person's car is better than ours, and then we tend to sort of try and go out of our way to sort of combat that, you know, by putting ourselves in debt and stuff like that. Don't do it. It's no point, right? Something that leads into this is to stop your social media and make sure that you make sure that you can control how your reference points are brought into your life and what you bring in. You tell yourself to stop thinking about this stuff when you find yourself wandering into that space where you're sort of comparing yourself. You become more grateful for what you have right now, because we have been told, and studies have proven, that when you are feeling gratitude, you cannot possibly experience envy, because they are technically functioning on the same neural networks that are in your brain. And the easiest way is to start right now is to get rid of your social media, or turn off notifications, all of them. Check when you want to check. Don't make the app make you check it, if that makes any sense. And the last thing is interrupt your consumption, because if you consume too much of anything, you start to get adapted to it, and it becomes your new norm. So resetting your hedonic adaptation curve always makes something better. And finally, this is basically a wrap-up of that last point. Increase your variety. And because variety is the spice of life. So that's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed that. Next week, so we are still in week 4, guys. Like, I think I've just only finished week 4. And I'm already done with week 5. So next video, we will talk about week 5's we are combating annoying feature number 1. You know, how do you combat miswanting? So we will discuss better wanting in the next video. And I hope you guys are following along this content, and not just following along. I want you to try and implement this stuff. The reason I make these videos and the reason I talk so long about this stuff is because I don't want to just give you the data. I also want to give you some of my personal experiences and how I am applying it into my life, and how that's affecting and making my life much better. Especially during these sort of COVID-19 times, it's hard. We've got to actively fight this stuff that we are when we are stuck by ourselves, you know? So understanding is important, but then active, intentional action is what will guide us through this and make us feel a little bit better, and overall give us a better sense of well-being about our lives. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm grateful for you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Do all the things that YouTube will tell you to do. And if you guys are brand new to this video and you're just joining in and you watched all the way through to the end of this video, what this video series is about is how to be better at combating these annoying features of our minds, so that we can improve our emotional well-being overall, and just be better human beings, be happier human beings. And I'm grateful for you guys. Thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day. Have a really, really, really beautiful day, because I know I'm gonna have a beautiful day. I'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya!